been I think you were one of the first podcasters on planet Earth, I believe, Mr. Gary Leland, the Bitcoin boomer, who is also the founder of BitBlock Boom, one of the best conferences for Bitcoiners around the world. Welcome, Gary Leland. How's it going?
It's going well. It's going really well. Yeah, I probably was one of the first 50 podcasters. I wasn't the first, but I was probably one of the first 50. I've had a habit of getting into new technology or being on the cutting edge. I think with my age, though, Bitcoin may be the last cutting edge thing that I do because it's gonna last a long time.
It's gonna. I predict it'll outlast all of us. I pray. How did you get into Bitcoin? Let's tell everybody who you are, and my audience would love to learn about who's Gary Leland.
Well, I was speaking at a conference in Dallas about podcasting, and after I got through speaking, I was walking in the hall, and I saw about 5 or 6 of my friends. They were just standing around talking, so I went to listen to them, and one of them was explaining to the other 4 or so what Bitcoin was. And I was about halfway in on the conversation, they were going through. So I heard about the last half, and they all left. And I said, there's a friend of mine named Tony. I said, Tony, I missed half of that. Could you explain that to me? So we sat on the couch at the hotel lobby. It's like 1 o'clock, and at 6 o'clock, we were still talking about Bitcoin.
Wow.
And
how long ago was this?
And this was 2017, before the big run up.
Okay.
Luckily, before the big run up. And I got home and I started doing some more research basically. And I called him up and said, Tony, you going to be at that conference tomorrow? He said, yeah. And I said, could I talk to you about Bitcoin some more? So he said, sure. I got there at 10 o'clock. We talked till about 1. Then we went over to his house and he was mining Zcash.
Okay.
So he could buy Bitcoin.
Okay.
Because he couldn't buy Bitcoin. I mean, he mined Bitcoin, but he could mine Zcash. So I think sometimes he was mining that, or he was mining Ethereum. So he was mining that, and he showed me mining and everything. And I bought like $5 worth. He showed me how to buy $5 worth and put it on Open Dime. And then when I got home that night, I made a pretty good investment in Bitcoin. I said, yeah, this is the future. And I didn't tell my wife. She didn't find out till it was like, she didn't find out how much Bitcoin we had for quite a while. But she, as I haven't researched it, she just kept saying, you need to stay away from that made up internet money. That's just made up internet money. And she'd say that all the time.
How did you switch from made up internet money to actual, oh my gosh, this is true sound money? I mean, obviously you had those conversations, but like, what was the tipping point intellectually to go, oh, I got it?
I don't think that ever happened, to be honest with you. But on the run up to 69,000, she became a believer.
But for you though, your tipping point of understanding, Bitcoin.
I was an early e-commerce guy. I built my first e-commerce site. I tried to build it in 95, but I couldn't figure out how to make a shopping cart.
Okay.
Because you couldn't just buy plug and play stuff.
Like
so in
today.
96 though, I did build my first e-commerce site, and everybody told me I was pretty much an idiot.
Wow.
That people wouldn't buy stuff on the internet. And I said, well, I would buy stuff on the internet.
Right.
I haven't, but I would. And so I built it, and I was really into e-commerce, my business. I had at the point by 2017, I maybe had 20 e-commerce sites.
20 e-commerce sites? What were you selling?
Well, I had wallpaper like you put in your house, on the walls.
Yeah.
I had 2 sporting goods sites, one for baseball, one for girls fast pitch softball. Have you ever seen those little tiny football helmets that people get autographs on?
Yeah.
I own minihelmets.com.
Oh,
so
cool.
I sold mini helmets. I sold face guards that girls wear when they play softball. It was faceguards.com. I sold had a training aid site. Just if I saw something, I thought I could sell it, or I found a drop shipper.
Yep.
I would sell it. Matter of fact, I'd have to call people and explain drop shipping to them in 96 because it wasn't a thing yet.
Yeah.
And I'd say, hey, I want to sell your stuff, but I don't want to bring it here.
Right.
And I'll give you an address and you ship it to them. And they go, I don't ship it to you. I'd have to explain it. I go, no, you ship it to my customer.
Yep.
And but I had so many sites that get back to the story because I'm kind of like getting lost there. My friend Tony, one of the things he did say during the half of the conversation I picked up is that it was the only internet protocol left. There wasn't a protocol for money, and Bitcoin was the protocol for money.
Right.
And since I was doing so much stuff on the net, I was like, a missing protocol for money. I need to find what, and that's what hooked me up, because someone had tried to, well, I ran into someone who was selling Bitcoin, a friend of mine. He would have people would come in and they buy thumb drives with Bitcoin on them from him, and he would resell them. And I said, he said, have you heard of Bitcoin? I said, no, what is it? He said, oh, it's like online stocks. And I said, I don't want anything to do with that.
Yeah.
And I think Bitcoin was maybe around $100 at the time.
Wow.
And so every time I see him, I say, if I saw him again, I said, why did you tell me it was like online stocks? I said, of all things, you could have told me. And he goes, well, I thought you being a boomer would understand that better than anything else.
Okay.
And I said, yeah, I understood it wasn't what I wanted. And you probably cost me, I don't know, you probably cost me $1 million, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
By making me wait so long, you probably physically cost me $1 million. And so every time I see him, I come up to him and go, I'd like my $1 million.
And so like, this is an important conversation, because I think a lot of people, we always are wondering, like, how did we learn about Bitcoin and get our aha moments? And then how do we translate our aha moments into conversations that we can share with other people who might relate to Bitcoin in a way that maybe gave us this aha? And so even though, you're a boomer, I'm almost a boomer, pretty darn close. What am I after?
Nothing wrong with being a boomer.
No, being a boomer is great.
In the best time. We grew up in the best time of America.
I know.
To be honest with you. I mean, sure, there were some things wrong, but things were cheap. One person, your mom could work without your dad. Your dad could work. Your mom could stay home.
Yeah.
And you could have a house. I mean, it was a great time to be a kid.
It's a great time. And now
everything wasn't perfect, but compared to now, it's all hell now.
It's a disaster. I think about my kids and saving for the future, and how can they ever even participate in this new world economy, and if they're not Bitcoiners, anybody who's not a Bitcoiner, I think, is going to be at a disadvantage as we keep moving forward, and so
I agree 100%.
And I just feel like as someone who's contributed to this system ignorantly, because I didn't know. You don't know what you don't know until you know it. And I think, I've only been into Bitcoin for it's about 3 years, right around now in January, February. I was like, wow, I'm a businesswoman, and I started companies, and I worked at Deloitte. I thought I knew what money was, but I'm like, I didn't know anything, and I feel like Bitcoin has woken me up to constantly poking around of like, well, what else do I not know, And so in your experience, like, what's transitioning people's mindsets from the old way of thinking to, oh, right, Bitcoin, this isn't some scary thing, especially for boomers and thinking about retiring and thinking about their future and their kids?
Well, it just makes sense. I would hang out with a lot of boomers, which is good and bad. Bad is I have nothing in common with most of them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I have more in common when I go to a place with a bunch of late 20s to 30s, people. I have more subject matter I can talk to, because I don't waste all day playing golf, and I don't do a lot of things that boomers do because I don't find that exciting. So
yeah,
I don't have that much in common. But when I do talk to boomers, it's really kind of the only way I've found to get them that I've been successful with orange pilling boomers is to talk them into dollar cost averaging.
Okay.
If you can get them dollar cost averaging, they aren't going to miss most people I hang out with, at least ways. So this varies with other people, but they aren't going to miss $100 a month or $50 a month, or some of them $1,000 a month. But you can get them to start dollar cost averaging. I found it's a short amount of time till they call me back wanting to buy quite a bit more.
Mm-hmm.
Like I had one guy I've known since second grade. I say, let's start buying with dollar cost averaging with Swan. And so I think he was buying $20 a month, $20 a week, nothing. And then he called me back 3 months later and goes, hey, Gary, I just want to let you know, I just bought $10,000 worth.
Nice.
And I had another guy who was buying $100 a week. He called me $3 later and goes, hey, I just bought $100,000 worth.
Oh, wow.
So they want to make money, like anyone does.
Yeah, that's
most people want to make money.
Yeah.
But if they start seeing it, they don't have to see a lot, but they start seeing it, then they'll jump on board because they're smart enough to know what's going on.
Yeah.
They just haven't See, and many of them, you got to also realize, and people don't realize this, many of them would not have a computer to this day if it wasn't for iPhones.
Right.
Yeah. They all got a computer now, but if it wasn't for iPhones and iPads, many of them still wouldn't have a computer unless it was at work. And at work, they just did their one task, So, but like I said, if you can get them buying, on a site like Swan where they buy a little bit and then they get emails and they start reading them, get them to buy once. I don't think that works with anyone. You get them to buy once and they go, okay, I'll buy $1,000 worth. You convince me, Gary. They'll just buy it and never look at it again. And then you talk to them 3 years later and you go, how do you like what that Bitcoin's doing? They go, well, what's happening? They haven't even looked at it. They go, oh my gosh, it's done real well. I'm going, yeah. You haven't been watching it, so you got to get them to buy on a regular basis.
I love that. I hadn't even really considered that would be such a powerful strategy, but it's just, you think marketing, right? Sometimes 7 touches until you make your conversion. And so this is something that I think, it keeps you in the conversation, in the game, and you're getting your notifications or whatever it is, that you're doing. That's,
and you click
wow,
on it,
I love
look at
this.
it, and you'll go, oh my gosh, it's $1,500. I only paid $1,000 for this.
Oh, I'm
going to do this. Seeing it in action.
I'm going to do this with my kids because I love my kids the best, and they're still not Bitcoiners, but they are, but they just don't know it yet. And I think maybe if I did something like this with a DCA for them, and then they can just kind of pay attention, and it's like, oh, look, this is how the game works, this is
how it works.
I love it. Oh, this is so fun. Thanks, Gary. I love it.
Yeah. Another thing people should do for their kids is they should buy their domain names.
Yes.
I did that for all my grandkids. Yep. I bought their domain names for 21 years till they're 21 years old. And that way, if they turn out to be successful and they want their name, someone didn't come along and see it. And if it doesn't turn out to be successful, what do I got? $200 in it? I mean, it's nothing. So
it's a good, I think it's a good thing to think about for the future. Gary, so how did you get started? Like, how did BitBlock Boom start? How did this super Bitcoin only, no crypto, no nonsense conference start for you?
Well, it's kind of like I'd been in Bitcoin about a year that I needed to do a conference. And so
you're like, let's bring everybody together. I love it.
Yeah. And so I did kind of really hard the first year because we weren't known or anything. But we had Saifedean Ammous said he would come. We had Pierre Rochard. We had Bitsting. We had a good audience. I mean, a good speaker lineup. We had a hard time getting people there. So I was out at nights giving out free tickets because I couldn't have all these people coming in and have no one show up. That would be a disaster. And we had one sponsor who wanted to be the top sponsor, which was $10,000. And this was, like I said, in early 2018, maybe. And he said, I'll do it if I can pay in Bitcoin. And he paid 1.6 or 1.7 Bitcoin, I think, to be the sponsor.
Oh, wow.
Which I still have because I don't sell my Bitcoin. So now that turns out that was a really profitable conference. But because so many of the speakers were Bitcoin only, and so many people, it came right off the bat, people were really happy that we're Bitcoiners. Yeah. Because they didn't have to listen to a bunch of crap, and that's what started. And then Saifedean at the brunch came up to me and goes, I have to say, I think this is the first Bitcoin maximalist conference I've ever been to in North America.
Wow.
And I know of it. I said, oh, I'm taking that. I said, can I quote you on that? And he goes, sure. I said, let me get my camera. I'm going to record you on that. And so then the next year it worked out pretty good. I think when we really grew, though, was during COVID. Because let's just face it, the conference was in August, into August. Who wants to come to Texas in August when it's 110?
Yeah.
Right? First of all. And if you've waiting till August, you've probably been to like a bunch of conferences, by August. So who wants to go to a conference they've never been to when it's 110 in Texas? But during COVID, there wasn't a conference the whole year. And I did mine. And so I still remember I was on Clubhouse and talking in a room, and I was on stage, and someone said, are you still doing the conference, Gary? I said, yeah, I'm still doing the conference. And someone goes, is that an in-person conference? I said, yeah. And they go, you're doing a conference? And someone else goes, I haven't been to a conference all year. And when I got off the Clubhouse that night, I looked into to see how sales were, and I sold like 40 tickets.
Oh, wow.
From people who were on Clubhouse, which I've never done that since. But got all these people there who would have probably never came because they hadn't been to a conference all year. And they said, this is a great conference. And then they've been coming ever since. So COVID is what really put us on the map. is the fact that we did it during COVID.
I love that. And now it looks like you've shifted here for the halving, and you're doing Bit Block Boom in April instead of Austin. Now it's in Dallas. Let's talk about that.
Right. Well, I'm from Dallas. I live in Arlington, which is right outside of Dallas.
Okay.
And we did it in Dallas the first 4 years. Then we moved it to Austin for 2 years back because it's a lot more work. I don't want to work that hard. And it's a lot more expensive. I was able to drop ticket prices, starting prices by $100 by moving it here, just by moving it here. Our hotel rooms are $100 cheaper a night. All our events are started off cheaper. So some people say, well, your events look expensive, but compared to what they were in Austin, they're not expensive. But I moved it here to be close. And then, what really happened on the move was not because of the happening. I looked when BTC Magazine moved their conference to July 1st last year. They said, we're going to do it in July 1st. I started looking at the schedule and I said, oh my gosh, look at this. Look at the conferences in the fall. There's like one every week starting July 1st. I mean, literally. And so I looked at the spring and there wasn't any in the USA to speak of. Maybe there's some smaller ones, but are people doing ones for the first time? I said, gosh, I could do this in April and still be the first one of the year, which I am doing it in April. And I'm one of the first ones of the year in the US. Like I said, there have been some other ones, but a notable one. And then I saw when the happening, I said, oh my gosh, the happenings in April. And so I didn't want to go the weekend before because El Salvador has their happening party and I didn't want to compete with him. He's a real nice guy.
Of course.
I like to have a lot of friends, not have people go, hey, look at this. So I said, well, what's the next weekend looks like? I said, well, I think I'll be early for the happening by maybe a week. That's what I guessed at the time.
Yeah.
But I went for it. Now, the blocks are under 9 minutes now. If it stays that fast, it's going to happen during Bit Block Boom.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, if it stays at what it is, because it's under 9 minutes, it's like 8 minutes and 50 seconds.
Oh, wow.
So I might have picked the right date by accident.
Oh my gosh.
So
it's like picking a baby date, right?
It's
like
it is.
When you have a baby and everybody guesses what the date and the time of the baby is going to be born.
Well, do you know how many people told me, oh, it's no way it can happen during Bit Block Boom. It's impossible. Like they were all know-it-alls. I'm going, I don't think anyone knows. You just got to guess a weekend.
Yeah.
And I was thinking for a while, which I still think, that it's going to happen like, our conference get over Sunday and it's going to happen like the next Thursday, is what I think is going to happen. But right now, I looked the other day on the time chain calendar, and if they were 9-minute blocks, it would happen on Friday at my conference.
Wow.
The date. If I put it, because you could put in how fast the blocks and when it would be. I was going, oh my gosh. And the other day, like I said, I looked at this morning, it was 8 minutes and 50 seconds.
Oh, wow.
So they're humping.
And so for folks who are listening, like you said, the halvening, and I've heard people say the halving, what's the difference and does it matter? And what is, like, let people know who may not be Bitcoiners understand why is this so important and what does it, what is the halvening or the halving?
Well, the halvening comes every 4 years. It was designed into the protocol, I guess, by Satoshi Nakamoto. And what it does, it cuts the amount of new Bitcoin released every 10 minutes in half. Right now, there are 900 Bitcoin a day that come online, basically. Well, as of April, I'm going to say the 13th because I'm feeling lucky.
There you go.
As of April the 13th, instead of being 900 Bitcoin a day, it's going to be 450 Bitcoin a day. So it automatically creates scarcity. And this has been happening since the get-go. At first you got 50 Bitcoin every 10 minutes. Then it was 25 Bitcoin every 10 minutes. And it was 12 and a half. Then it was 6 and a quarter. Now it'll be like 3 1/8 or whatever. I'm probably saying something wrong, but I'm pretty close. Yeah. So the amount of new Bitcoin released, it's not really created. It's all created already. It's just being released over a period of time up to the year 2021. So with less Bitcoin being released.
2021 or 2040?
2040. Thank you. Thank you. Because we already passed 2021. See, I'm a boomer.
2140, right? Is that,
yes,
my brain needs to, I got to get all these things right here.
Yeah. Once I get on a roll, sometimes I'm just spitting out stuff.
Yeah.
But the concept is more people want Bitcoin because the prices are going up. There's less of it to get, which makes the price go up, so it's a thing. So halving is real important. And in the past, I've always seen it really affect it. Like if it happened in 2024, it would affect it more in 2025 is when we would see, like that's when I think we saw the $69,000 run. That's when we saw the $19,000 run, over the year 4 years earlier. But usually it's the next year. But this year, I was telling Surfer Jim the other night, and Lynn B on we do a Spaces on Monday nights. Okay. I was telling him, I think things are going to be different this year. I don't know why. I'm just feeling this is different because there's so much more demand. We got ETFs now buying. Yeah. We got countries buying. We got Michael Saylor buying.
That dude is whipping everything up. I'm like, save some for us, Michael.
Yeah, if you take his personal stash in Microsoft strategy, he has over 100,000 of them. I mean, that cat is a Bitcoin buying machine.
Yeah,
so there's a lot different this time. So I'm thinking we may not be having to wait till 2025 to see the start of a run up. This could be what a lot of us have been saying the whole time is going to happen. This could be the start.
It is. And I know I'm thinking, I'm like, should I go start donating plasma and just eating top ramen so I can get ahead of the again, I want to come back to my question super quick. Halvening versus halving.
Oh, I don't know which one it's supposed to be.
Okay, cool. I didn't know.
I say one half the, and actually every time I spell it in a post, I look at it and go, I got this right. Should I say this?
I know.
And so hey, you know what you need to do? I don't know if you've seen this yet. I don't know if this has been announced yet. You need to go to this. Let me give you this site real quick.
Here, I'll put it up on the screen. Tell me.
Oh gosh, let me find it real quick here. See, I'm not going to find it because I'm looking for it. Come on. Oh, here it is. Okay, go to sell stuff for sats.
Sell stuff for sats.
Mm.
Is it .org.com?
Here it is. I'm sorry, I didn't have it right. It is satscrap.com.
Satscrap?
Yeah.
CRAP?
Mm-hmm. I feel pretty sure that's it.
Like Sats crap or Sats scrap?
Crap.
Like, look at my screen.
Yes, crap. Where is it at on the screen? Yes. Go there. That's just opened, and they're getting ready to start making all the press about it now.
Oh my God.
And I've already started listing stuff on here. But you can list anything you want on here, and for the whole month, they aren't charging any fees. And people buy it. It's an auction site for selling your crap for Satoshis.
I'm curious if I've sold anything. Instead, hold on. Let's see.
But this is from the guys who have the auctions. Scarcity.
Okay. Cool. Don't sell your kidneys for sats. Do this instead. How's that?
Yeah. So like I said, I got no play here except I've listed 3 items. But yeah, I'm just going to list a couple of items as I walk around the house every day. Because I've been saying for a long time,
that's
sell your crap and buy Bitcoin. I think they might have got that name from me because I've been saying that for years on shows. Sell all your crap and buy Bitcoin.
I know. Well, isn't it funny? Like, we think about all the folks who've inspired us over the decades, and I think of all of my mentors and people who I know I pull little words of wisdom from them and I remix them. And then now they turn into something sort of new, but there's nothing new. Everything is remixed, in my opinion.
Everything is just going through a cycle. Everything's been invented. I mean, for the most part, they're mostly just all improvements. Something that came out already. I mean,
totally.
If you really get down to it, the iPhone is probably just an improvement over Telegram. The telephone was an improvement over the Telegram. This one's an improvement over the telephone. So,
yeah, it's pretty cool. So Gary, what do you see for the future? What do you see for our kids? How do you see Bitcoin turning into something? Obviously, my whole thesis is Bitcoin for peace. It creates, an opportunity for us to have a more fair and inclusive money system for the whole world to participate in. And if we do not have a fair money system, how can we have mental health? How can we have physical health? How can we have an earth that is being nurtured and taken care of properly? So, if we can fix Bitcoin, can we really fix the world, and can we create a more peaceful planet?
Well, they say Bitcoin fixes everything, so I don't know, but I know that the fiat currency, it's funny, I didn't know that word when I first started Bitcoin.
Yeah.
And fiat.
I've heard of it, but I didn't understand exactly what it was. Yeah. I was like, okay, fiat, whatever. Okay. It's a car, or it's whatever,
But the fiat system that's in place now, whether it explodes or not, or when it explodes, I guess it's going to eventually, it's really just crap. It's like the crap I'm putting on sex for crap.
Yeah.
It's nothing good. Nothing's coming from it. All our kids are going to get harmed by what they're doing with the fiat system. Countries are getting hurt. I mean, we really got kind of lucky here, I guess, to a degree, because, as the dollar, inflates and becomes worth less and less and less, due to inflation, at least we're getting some stuff out of it. At least we're getting a car or getting a radio or getting an iPhone or something. Man, all these other countries that use the dollar, they aren't getting jack.
No.
They're just losing money
to
the U.S. I mean, if the dollar, if there's 10% inflation, they just lose 10% a year. At least stuff's coming to the U.S. and we're just giving them digits on a computer. That's kind of crazy, isn't it? We just give people digits on a computer and they sell us cars and they give us everything we have. For some digits on a computer.
It sounds like a Ponzi scheme.
10% less next year.
It sounds to me like a Ponzi scheme.
But I think Bitcoin, I think you're right. Bitcoin will save the world. Got a long ways to go to get there, but the people like, my kids, I have orange pilled. Your kids, you're working on them.
Working on it.
Nothing else. You're acquiring it. So that's going to help them. My kids, I'm almost 70, so there's no way I'm going to spend all my Bitcoin because I haven't spent any yet. So there's no way I'm going to spend it all. So they're going to benefit from that. So I think that a lot of people, though, are going to be in a lot of trouble, So the sooner we can get them on the Bitcoin standard, the better we are.
Well, let me ask you about that. So obviously, hodling is a huge, important thing for all of us to do, is save our Bitcoin. But, thinking in terms of, you've got e-commerce and getting Bitcoin out there in circular economies is one way for it to get more adoption, right? So if people are selling
I buy
something,
Bitcoin to use for that.
Yeah.
So if I'm going to buy some Bitcoin, I buy new Bitcoin. I don't use my Bitcoin.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's what I want to get clear for people who are listening, because, yes, you have a saving strategy, and then we also have a circulation strategy,
Right.
And like, if I know I'm going to go, buy a ticket to BitBlock Boom and I want to pay in Bitcoin, I'm going to go buy Bitcoin that day, and then I'm going to pay that day. So I'm not getting volatility and losing Bitcoin, et cetera. So I think it's super important that people understand, like, the more that we're utilizing it in our day-to-day transactions, it's going to help get that circular economy going. And it's also going to get us off the rails of, the fiat rails, which are dangerous.
I've been trying to, like, whenever I do valet parking, tip the guy in Bitcoin. I really, when you're valet parking, picking up your car, you don't have enough time to go into orange pill somebody.
Exactly. It's just like, here.
You got like, but I go, do you have Bitcoin wallet? If they say, yeah, I'm going to tip you in Bitcoin. They're like, oh, cool.
And then if they don't, what do you say? How do you help them? Do you have a quickie? Like, do you tell them to go to a certain, like, get strike right now or get something?
No, if it's a valet driver and it doesn't have it,
I know, he's just like, forget it.
$5. Yeah. Yeah. Cause it's just not enough time to I don't think you can orange pill anyone in the 1 minute that it takes to get your keys. And get in your car.
You can't. I think, and I regret that I forget which company did this, but I think you can just do this in general. Is it Azteco? Well, there's Azteco vouchers, but if you can carry around almost like little pieces of paper that, you would have $1 on.
Azteco vouchers.
Yeah. And so you can be like, here's $1 worth of Bitcoin, or, whatever it might be. And then just be like, here, go download this. And now here's step 1, 2, 3 to go get your Bitcoin. So I'm working on having a couple things like that, because I do notice if I want to orange pill the bathroom attendant somewhere, or anything, this is a quick, thing, or your Uber driver, you don't have time to go into the whole thing, but you want to maybe give them something that they can touch and do later and play around with it. So
it's amazing how many Uber drivers know about Bitcoin, though.
Yeah. I mean, Uber drivers are hustlers, though. You think about it, like, anybody who's driving Uber, chances are it could be their full-time thing, but a lot of it's their side hustle. So they're like, okay, what other streams of income can I learn about? And I find a lot of Uber drivers also do know.
I agree completely. And also, when you're with the Uber driver, you're in that car for maybe 20 minutes.
Yeah.
You got a lot of time to orange pill somebody.
Totally.
And by the time they're like, okay, I'll take, I want to get some Bitcoin. So
I'll take some of that Bitcoin off your hands. Yeah, me too. I think it's super.
That was my dentist today. I had to go to the dentist to get my teeth cleaned. And I was throwing her, so I got her to buy the Bitcoin Standard on her
Cool.
on her phone so she could listen to it. She wanted the new book to listen to, and so
Oh,
I talked
good.
her into
Yeah.
buying the Bitcoin Standard. So
Oh,
that
that's
was
a
as
good
much as
one.
I could do in that. Yeah, yeah. I think though, while that's one of the best books probably ever created for Bitcoin, I really think it's a second book for real for most. It
I
should be
do
a
too.
second book. There's a lot of
I have
information
a
you
first
don't
one.
care
What do you
about,
think
like
is the first one?
rhinestones. Well, I think there's a couple of them. Inventing Bitcoin. That's a good one.
Okay. hmm
Bitcoin and the American Dream, which I wrote with a bunch of people, is a good
Okay.
one. It's a you could read that on a flight,
Yeah,
So I mean, and that's what I think you need something short for the first one,
you do. I think it's
and
got to be.
then
Yeah,
they go into Bitcoin Standard.
I think so too. And so, I mean, some people are ready to jump into it, but for the majority of us are not, safe, and we don't think the way he does. And it is extensive, and it's like I remember listening to it for the first time. I'm like, okay, backwards, and because I listen to everything on Audible, and
So do
um,
I.
there's also another. Terrence Michael wrote a really great book, Proof of Money, and I really like that one now to give to people. And I think it's just always depends on what is your like what's your angle, and of course I love Alex Gladstein and Jeff Booth. I love all these guys. And Tomer has a good, I like his kind of more hippie, groovy angle, and Gigi. So it's like, who's your audience, right? And so you can decide like
Yeah.
how do they get it? Well,
I have to check out Proof of Money. I've read almost every Bitcoin or listened to almost every Bitcoin. Matter of fact, I just bought Jimmy's Songs new book so I can listen
oh,
to this.
what's
But I
his new
usually
book?
go
I don't know
through.
his new book.
Um, I don't know. It's got a clown on the front. I can't remember the name of the book. I just know it has a clown on the front of it. I think it's Powell done with clown makeup on the book.
Oh my God, I wouldn't doubt it. Oh yeah.
Jimmy's a good guy.
Everybody in Bitcoin is a good guy and a good gal. And Natalie and I were just talking about this before, this episode, and it's just like this congregation of hearts and souls and minds and skill and talent that give a shit and that want to make the world a way, way better place. And not just kumbaya, but tangible, actionable. Like Bitcoin really is a solid tool, to do this. And I'm still blown away. I'm still new to this, this world to some degree. And I'm so humbled and honored to get to like talk to you and get to meet all of these great people and participate, and it's everybody's welcome. There's no like, oh, you need to have these degrees or these letters or this much money, or you need to be in
But
the social club, blah, it's super
no, you're right.
everybody.
It's first of all, Jimmy's book is Fiat Ruins Everything. Just
Okay,
so
fiat ruins
anyone's
everything.
listening.
Thank you.
But you're right, and I tell people that Bitcoin, where Bitcoin's at right now, as far as the people and the whole social world of Bitcoin, is really where podcasting was in 2005.
Ooh,
I mean, it
interesting.
really is. It's all these people that are wanting to share information and help you out and meet you and see what they can do to make things better for you. And it's not because they're doing it to make money off you. Now they are. Podcasting has gotten so big. There's tons of people just, I want to edit your podcast. I want to do this. I want to do that. I want to make money off you. But that's not the way it was when it started. And that's where Bitcoin's at now. Because all these Bitcoiners like you, like me, we're orange pilling people or trying to, but we're not doing it to increase our stack.
Yeah.
We're doing it because we don't want them to miss out. It's almost like a religion. I tell people it's like being a Jehovah's Witness to a degree. Jehovah. But it is.
No, I hear
Jehovah's
you.
Witnesses,
Knock, knock, knock.
they only believe that 140,000 people can go to heaven.
Oh gosh.
I mean, there's a limited amount of people who can go to heaven according to Jehovah's Witnesses. And I have a friend of mine who's a Jehovah's Witness. I said, well, you're never going, Robert. I know there's 140,000 people over the history of mankind that were better than you because I lived with you as a kid. We lived next door. And so, but they do it. They go door to door to help people, not because they think they're going to go to heaven if they talk 20 people into becoming Jehovah's Witnesses. They truly believe that they are doing people a favor by teaching them about Jehovah. And so that's the way Bitcoiners are. They're like orange pilling Uber drivers. They're orange pilling their dentist. They're orange pilling these people, not because they're going to make something off of it, but because they think they're truly doing them a favor. And so that's why I say Bitcoiners are a lot like Jehovah Witnesses, except it's not a cult.
It's not a cult, and anybody can
Yeah.
get in and get out, and everyone's welcome, and it's just math. That's it. It's math, but there's a soul to the math, and there's a consciousness to it, in my
well,
experience.
what I say on that is Bitcoiners. Let's take Bitcoiners and crypto shitcoiners. Bitcoiners and shitcoiners.
Bitcoiners and shitcoiners.
They all want to make money. I mean, people do like making
That's
money.
okay.
I hope I'm still
Yeah,
there.
you're here.
They want to make money.
Yeah.
Okay. But shitcoiners just want to make trades and make money and make trades. And that's all they're worried about is their stack.
Yeah.
Where Bitcoiners want to make money, but they truly believe they can change the world.
Yes.
So that's the difference between Bitcoiners and shitcoiners. Is Bitcoiners believe they can make money like other people can, but save the world at the same time. So that's the big difference on those two.
They do, and I'll kind of push back on that a tiny bit, and here's why. I've been going to a lot of environmental conferences and London Climate Action Week and New York Climate Week with my partner, and the people, are so interested in making nature better, healing the planet, cleaning up pollution, fighting, against the powers that be, but they're misguided when they're getting the marketing department of Shitcoin 101, whatever, going down their throats and going, we need to go make an ocean coin, and we need to go make nature-backed currencies, and we need to go do all of these things that are going to support a decentralized circular economy for indigenous communities and la, la, la. And I'm just like, and I would have bought into that a few years, 3 years ago when I was first learning and not understanding truly what the difference is between Bitcoin and crypto, because I want to go change the world. And they do have a lot of these initiatives. I think some of them they do have good hearts. Not all of them, of course. Some of them just want to, do rug pulls and your liquidity, et cetera. But some of the folks out there really are getting misled and misguided. And I'm reading this book called Sacred Economics by Charles Eisenstein. And he's a great philosopher, and he did a lot of research. Unfortunately, he's hijacked from Keynesian economics, and he's talking about having, negative interest currency. So everybody needs to spend all this stuff. And I'm just like, dude, we don't need to do that. It's like, we have Bitcoin already, and it's deflationary by nature, and it's inclusive. So we don't want to go have 10,000, coconut currencies and turtle currencies and save the trees currencies. Like, don't have initiatives, but we have one solid sound money called Bitcoin. And so I think having these conversations with these other audiences in a compassionate way is very important for all of us, because they're tired and exhausted, and they're not economists, they're not billionaires, they're not hedge fund people, they're not cryptographers and cypherpunks. So I'm experiencing a lot of opportunity to build bridges with a lot of these folks who do want to make the world better, but they just don't know that Bitcoin is like this base layer of truth money,
yeah. I can see that.
Yeah.
But once they understand what I guess basically what I should say is the difference between Bitcoiners who are educated, and crypto people who are educated. Bitcoiners think they can save the world, the educated ones.
Yeah. And we know we can. That's it. It's not even just think, like, we know that this is the magic, thing. I don't want to say thing, but
it's the magical internet.
It is the magical internet money. It's real, and when I first started learning about, the remittances, and going back and forth all around the countries, and certain GDPs are hugely reliant on remittances, and then learning that, like, oh, you have to take a cut out of Western Union, and grandma has to leave the house and go in a dangerous gang infested neighborhood for 2 hours to go get her $100, which now is whatever, $90.
And when she comes out of Western Union, someone knows she's got money, or she wouldn't have been inside Western Union.
Exactly. And then she's got something that nobody can, trace if she's got cash that leaves, that she gets mugged. And so when I started seeing all of these types of use cases, and then obviously what President Bukele has done is incredible.
Incredible.
Incredible. He's I love it. And I'm like, why don't we have more leaders that get it, that care about it. I mean, it's not, what he's done is not a perfect solution, obviously, with like the blanketing of getting all these gang folks off street. I'm glad he did, but now he's got to really understand, like, are some of these people truly innocent, and let's get them out. Because when you do create a big fishing net, yeah, let's get all the bad stuff, but you might accidentally have a few innocent people. But our leaders today are just, they're flaccid, and it's depressing to see that. And he's not, and I'm really impressed by his tenacity, and he gets the truth, and it's changed.
Our system has been corrupted. Our system has been corrupted.
It's so
It's
corrupt.
been corrupted by people with money, paying money. I mean, why? Let's put it this way: why would I don't care if you're Democrat or Republican. I'm just using this person because it came to my mind. Why would Nancy Pelosi, who's like 80 years old, worth $100 million, want to still be working?
I know.
I mean, really, just the fact that I don't have to work anymore, and not just working in hell, So that kind of tells you something. It's got to be something really good making her wanting to work in hell with her money at that age. It must be something going on.
Well, and I think look, all of these folks. I mean, it's just like,
and both sides is the same way.
Yeah,
it's the same way both sides. That's why I just picked a name. I'm not saying it's a Democrat thing. Both sides. They had a vote the other day for term limits and down. Because that's what I think is really the worst thing that's ever happened is we don't have term limits.
That is, I can't even understand how that's even logical in any sane planet. It's not. Like, we need to have term limits. I think we need to have cognitive ability limits. Unfortunately, President Biden is, my bonus mom had Alzheimer's, and watching him speak and what he's doing and saying he was meeting dead people twice this week. Yeah. You should not have access to the nuclear codes, my friend. Like, and say goodbye and thank you for your service. Have a nice day.
I don't know that he does have access.
I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, as a president of, and the leader of the free world, you're done. Like, this is unacceptable.
Are you familiar with the book? Are you familiar with the book Common Sense by Thomas Paine?
I've heard of it, but I haven't read it. No.
This came out like before the revolution.
Okay. No.
Common Sense. It's a small book. You can read it in the afternoon. But this book was written, like I said, hundreds of years ago.
Okay.
And in this book, Thomas Paine says that when we become a free country and have our own government, people should only be able to serve in the government at the Capitol for a certain amount of terms, or else they'll start representing the Capitol instead of the state. So I knew this and put it on paper 200 years ago. So this isn't like some new concept. This was before we were a country. He said it. He could see what would happen. You start representing Washington. If you're there for 40 years, that's your home. Yep. You're not representing Cleveland, Ohio anymore, or Dallas, Texas.
Well, and it's hard to have any impartiality and really sticking with what you were voted to get done if you're just continuing to get, like, I think of like we when we were working on the Satoshi, the cyber opera, we called the system the Kraken. It's just got its tentacles everywhere, and it's like a cancer that's like that, it's going everywhere. And so I feel like, how can you extract yourself from that if you keep perpetually going deeper every year into this politically corrupt system that's designed, to eat itself, basically? And so, it's a tough one.
Page. I think most people are on the same page, and I think the people who are on the page are more apt. There's two things I think people are more apt to be Bitcoiners and understand quickly. People who are on that page, who see what's happening, and for some reason, I think artistic people see Bitcoin a lot quicker, because
artistic or autistic, both of us. I'm a part of both, maybe. I think.
But artistic people, because they're used to working with things that aren't solid, that are conceptual. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but I think artistic people can see possibilities because they can see a canvas and they go, I can see, or they can see stone and go, I can do this. They can see things that someone else who's like, this 1 + 1 is 2. 2 + 2 is 4. There's no exception to the rule. They can't see these things as easily because they're so bound by these laws that they made on themselves. Like time is time. There's no flexibility in it. So I think that those both, I think people who feel like they're libertarians, maybe, they probably jump all over it, libertarians, because they know everything's going to hell, and people who are artistic, no matter what the art is, I just think their minds work differently than
well, I think
accountants, for instance.
well, you said it. I love the way you said it. It's like, as creators, whatever your medium is, using the blank canvas as an example, like we can see something past a blank canvas, on anything, whether it's music, whether it's writing, whether it's film, it doesn't matter. A business, like visionary business people, like I love business because it's like a puzzle. It's a puzzle that hasn't been formed yet, but then you look at the back, other people have done stuff and you're like, I'm going to take that. I'm going to remix it. Now I'm going to try this new business model. Okay, this works. This doesn't. You're constantly in flux mode when you're a business person. So I think business people are such great creators, when they're startup people or when they're entrepreneurs. If you're just working in corporate America and you're getting your check, you don't have as much flexibility to think outside of the current system because it's feeding you. Right. And then you get pushed back against, on ideas because they don't fit in the big giant, steam machine of the corporate structures. And so let's talk, we'll wrap up here in a few, but what would you say to folks who are, boomers, people who are a little older than we're thinking, how am I going to protect myself from this melting thing called fiat or the bonds or my 401k that's only getting 3% a year or whatever it is? Like, how can Bitcoin help people who are looking for their retirement?
A lot of people are down on ETFs, which Bitcoin will take care of itself there.
Yeah.
Bitcoin always takes care of itself. It's just going to happen. But I was talking to someone the other day who wanted to buy, before the ETFs came out, they were wanting to put $100,000 in Bitcoin. And we were talking about it, and they said, I want to pull out of my IRA's retirement $100,000 and buy Bitcoin. But as soon as I do, I'm going to get hit for about 20% in capital gains. So I don't want to do it because if I pull out 100, I got 80. That took a big hit. That's going to have to come back. But he could buy ETFs and not take that initial hit. Now I think ETFs are going to open, are kind of like a sneaky way of getting people into Bitcoin. So
it's a Trojan horse.
These ETFs. Yeah, Trojan horse. Thank you. And now all of a sudden they go, hey, and they start finding out about Bitcoin, and they go, why am I paying for this?
Yeah,
it doesn't look that can handle this because it's not that hard. And then they'll start buying a little bit, and then they'll go, well, I'm not buying any more of this ETF Bitcoin from now on. So I think it's a Trojan horse is a great word for it. That's a great word for it, actually, is they come in thinking
I won't take credit. Alex Gladstein always talks about Bitcoin being a Trojan horse, so I'm not going to take credit. I'm inspired by his conversations about it. So, but it is a Trojan horse for a lot of folks, and they get excited, and it's fine. It's top of funnel. It's, you're thinking of how you're going to have your conversions along the way for consciousness and action. And so whatever the path of least resistance is for some people to get over that initial hump, some people are freaked out thinking like, oh, I don't want to be my old bank and hold my own keys. I like customer support, and that's cool because that's how we're conditioned for decades and decades, especially as older people that are in the system.
That's how we're conditioned.
Yeah. And the young folks who don't have that, decades of muscle memory are just more like, I don't want this system over here that keeps, stealing my money, stealing my purchasing power with their policies, to be in charge of my life's work. And so it's easier for younger minds because they haven't been so, entrenched in
and they aren't even opening bank accounts anymore when they're, being your own bank, which is what you are with Bitcoin.
Yeah.
You're your own bank. Okay. You're not only just not using the bank, you are your own bank. Now that's a great power. And as Voltaire said, with great power comes great responsibility. Yeah. And most people are not prepared for the responsibility because they haven't had to have any responsibility when it comes to keeping their money safe. They haven't had to have any.
Yeah. I think I was watching, oh gosh, was it Tucker? Yeah, I think it was Tucker Carlson had somebody on the other day that was talking about the that weight loss drug that everybody's taking, the blah blah whatever it's called.
Ozempic.
Ozempic. Something, yeah. So he had somebody on, and they were discussing, all the implications of it, and just the doctors are actually telling people like, you can just take this pill and eat what you want. Don't worry. And so even just in same thing, like Weight Watchers is going in and telling people, you don't worry. It's not your fault actually that you're overweight. You can take this pill and it's fine. So to me, that level of consciousness and mindset of like, just take the pill and you don't actually have to do the work to get a result, it
That's not a
permeates in
Bitcoin
all.
way.
It permeates in all of this culture, and it keeps getting worse and worse and worse, I think. And so, I mean, Bitcoin, obviously, if we want to be our own banks and have that radical self-responsibility, we do have to put in some proof of work, and we do have to poke holes in things. And it's not about just, okay, daddy, take care of everything for me, And I think that mindset, we really have to keep shifting people away and thinking like, there's not a pill for everything. I mean, the orange pill requires work, if you're a Bitcoiner. You don't
Yeah.
get to just, yeah,
Losing weight requires not eating.
it
I
requires a
mean,
lot of
that's the main
things.
thing.
It's not just like I'm gonna keep doing all this
Mostly
old veg.
not eating.
Yeah, it's like it's a combination of things, and so there is no one.
Yeah, I weighed 375 pounds.
You did?
Okay, so I was a big dude.
No
Yeah.
way.
Like I
Oh,
had to get an
oh,
extender.
oh,
I had to get an extender on airplanes.
Gary, no
And I walked
way.
2 miles a night.
You're
And so
amazing.
I walked 2 miles once or twice a day. But when I stopped eating, I lost weight.
Yeah.
When I just quit eating, I went on a protein shake diet for like 2 months, 3 months. I think the biggest thing I quit doing was drinking diet sodas.
Yep.
I would drink like 10 diet sodas a day. When I quit drinking diet sodas, I lost 30 pounds just by not drinking diet sodas. So
Wow.
yeah, I was huge. So it wasn't, I didn't do a lot of exercise. I just started controlling what went in my mouth.
Yeah, our consumption model is important. What goes in here and what goes in here is super duper important. And so, well, congratulations on
I
that.
like how you did both of those.
All of it, yeah. Um, it's very important, and obviously you took action and understood it's not just gonna happen overnight, and, I mean, way to go, dude. That's amazing.
Yeah, I was always the fattest person in any room I went in. I mean, ever,
Wow,
Yeah.
and
I wasn't that as a kid, but I had over time just ate and ate and ate and ate whatever I wanted, whenever I wanted, as much as I wanted.
wow. And so when did this happen? When did this occur that you had a wake up and changed your behavior?
2000. I probably started in
So
2015.
before you were a Bitcoiner,
Changing
and
my
then here you are, a
yeah, yeah,
healthy Bitcoiner, and bringing everybody together, and,
yeah. I'm up a little bit now because I'm like 220 maybe. I had gotten down to 195.
wow.
That was my goal to get under 200. So I'm
Wow.
up a little bit now. But actually, I'm like on a diet again now, trying to get back under 200.
And are you
So
doing
because like I said, it's what you put in your mouth. You can exercise all you want, but if you're still putting all that crap in your mouth, you aren't going to see big success. You just might get muscles on top of the fat or under the fat.
Yeah, it's insane. I know, and the concept that this gentleman was talking about, he was like, you become a lifelong drug addict of this ozepam or whatever it's called, and because if you go off of it, you're gonna get the weight back, and of course, people are having all these abdominal issues and all this horrible side effects, and they're just like, "Well, it's okay." I'm like, there's natural ways that we can at least attempt, and if for some reason all of those things don't work, sure, maybe you've got some kind of a genetic issue or whatever it might be. I'm not a doctor, but like, try that
Well,
stuff
there are
first.
exceptions to the rules. Some people do have, but majority of people that are overweight ate too much food, in my
Yeah,
opinion, in my humble opinion.
yeah,
And there are
and
exceptions
so
to the rule, exceptions to every rule, but a lot of people just from eating too much food
yeah. Oh, wow.
or the
Well,
wrong food
congrats.
or the wrong food.
And the wrong food, and we're incentivized to have the wrong food. It's advertised to us, it's cheaper, it's subsidized, it's like basically it's sugar and processed crap, and it's not this, let's go have whole foods from the earth that don't have ingredients in them that I can't pronounce, and I'm guilty of it. I like
Yeah.
pizza and I'll go eat some nachos. I'm not some like, ooh, I'm just gonna eat grass every day. But
Yeah. See, I quit eating bread. That was a biggie too. I don't eat bread and I don't drink beer anymore because that's like drinking bread. I
yeah.
still don't drink beer, and I used to love beer.
It's a I know beer is definitely a thing that can contribute to, our weight. What would you say to somebody who's listening to this podcast? And we'll wrap it up here in a sec. Who's new to Bitcoin, who might be a little bit older, who's just like, I'm not a cryptographer and I'm not a cypherpunk kid. Like they want to start getting involved in Bitcoin. How would you invite them to start learning?
I'd say what I said earlier. Go to someplace like Swan. I know there's a ton of them.
Yeah.
I'm not promoting them necessarily,
Yeah.
and start buying $5 worth a week.
5 a week.
I mean, yeah, $5 a week. So all you got to do is get them to buy some on a regular basis, whether it's $5, $10, whatever. And then they'll buy after 2-3 months. Majority of them will start doing that, and they'll buy whatever their budget allows.
Yeah.
Whether it's 10,000, 5,000, 1,000, 100,000. They'll learn Bitcoin and they'll get orange pilled. It's much easier to let them orange pill people. All you got to do is turn people on to the faucet.
Yeah.
And someone like Swan would be the faucet. You just got to lead them to the water and let them start drinking some water. And next thing you know, they're picking that hose up and putting it in their mouth and sucking it all the way down, getting Bitcoin.
Well, they're going to get that fire hose of epic Bitcoin conference and people and connection and community at BitBlock Boom in April. And so,
that's true.
Yeah, I highly recommend. I hope I still am trying to think if I can get there. I'm going to be the week before. I'm going to be at Summit at Sea. I just got confirmation that I'll be doing that. And so there's a lot of
that sounds like a great time.
All of them are going to be a great time. But I want to kind of fractalize myself and be at all of the events at once. And still be a good mom. But for anybody listening, if you can't see the screen, obviously go to bitblockboom.com and you guys can go learn about the conference that Gary's been putting on and bringing everybody together around the Bitcoin community and having pure signal, no nonsense, no crypto, no blockchain. It's just Bitcoin. So I think that's going to be really cool. Yeah. And then go follow Gary.
Come up to me and tell me when someone's talking about another shitcoin, and I have to go over and address them.
And you're like, excuse me.
People come up and go, hey, pushing Ethereum. I have to go there and go, hey, dude, you can't talk about Ethereum here. I have to kick you out. Okay.
I think it's interesting though, Gary, because I think about, myself as an outsider at a lot of these, these climate events and these nature events. And a lot of them talk about Ethereum and all this. And when I mention Bitcoin, they're like, you're boiling the ocean in evil. So I think, people do want to come in and have conversations, but it's like, I mean, I'm never going to shut up about Bitcoin. So you can't make me. But I think it's interesting that people will want to try to cross-pollinate a little bit. So I would love to see more Bitcoiners, not just at Bitcoin events, but at other verticals, whether it's activists, whether it's environmental, whether it's hedge funds, whatever. I think us Bitcoiners need to meet with each other at places like BitBlock Boom and then go spread the gospel into these other places, so that we can orange pill the world.
I agree 100.
Yeah. Well, okay, everybody.
That's a good
Thanks, Gary. It is. Yeah. We've got to get them out.
Oh, and tell them to use the code LOVE. Tell them to use your code LOVE if they do buy tickets.
Use the code LOVE. Go to BitBlock Boom, and if you hit love, and maybe you'll see me, and you get 10% off too, which is super cool. But make sure you go follow Gary Leland at GaryLeland.com. And if you're on X, you can follow him also at Gary Leland. Gary, thanks so much for taking time to be with me and the rest of the audience. And I hope you have such a great day. And I really do hope I can see you, whether it's not in Dallas this year. I'll see you sometime, hopefully this year at one of the
We'll see each other. I know that for sure. We'll see each other somewhere for sure. Thanks for having me on the show.
Yeah, totally. Thanks, Gary, for all the work you're doing out there. And thanks, everybody, for tuning in to Bitcoin for Peace. And I'm DJ Valerie, and have an awesome day. Aloha.